Ho ho ho. Just a little blended coffee drink for the morning. I have realized though, the straw might be phallic. But it's fine. Merry Christmas Eve, everybody. We're doing great, right? Or happy holidays. I don't know what you guys celebrate, but all holidays are valid. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to the Hideaway. It's Douglas again, and again, happy holidays. And today we'll be breaking down the 13th entry into the Hideaway called Follow Me Home. Much like Dallas, this is a very personal piece, and I guess it's more of like a story versus a poem because it really is just like detailing an event that happened that I haven't really talked about yet. But I use my writing as a kind of like a catharsis and like a reasoning tool. So this really is like detailing an event that happened in like what I was feeling or what I wasn't feeling at the time. And long story short, we're gonna try and keep it not vague, but like Dallas, like the words kind of speak for themselves in the sense. So I'll break down what I feel like I need to break down and awkwardly talk about the rest of it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump in. This will probably be a short video again, so just bear with me. So first section. I never wanted to imagine midnight walks in the cold alone, a blacked out memory, and losing a friend. I feel like the imagery speaks for itself, so let's move forward. I let my inhibitions and my secrets flirt with the moonlight. This, just for like creative purposes, I feel like it's kind of a tie-in to Moonbeam. And I think this piece connects to a couple other pieces as well. And so I always think that's fun. And like, again, this series was heavily inspired by Folklore and now Evermore from Taylor Swift. And a lot of it was like all different songs kind of having little tie-ins and connections to each other. So I think it's obvious that I feel like that's maybe what I'm doing here. Maybe unconsciously, but like, I still think it's fun. Oh, and another fun thing, the title actually comes from Taylor Swift's Beautiful Ghost. It's a song she wrote for the Cats movie. It's a really beautiful song. Please go check it out. I know everyone hates that movie, but that song really is beautiful. And it's basically about, you know, talking to someone who had this glamorous past that no longer has it and they're wanting it back, but this person's like, well, I never even have that, so just be thankful that you at least have those memories. And so that kind of ties into this piece a little bit. So bubbling to the surface were all my insecurities instead of retreating them into the shadows. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, especially if you're like drunk or things like that. Obviously your inhibitions are lowered and usually they can slip out easier, and it's easier for us to hide them when we're sober than not. I walked the wrong way home at first, disoriented by the events unfolding. More just facts in the story that I'm telling. If I had looked in the mirror when I stumbled home without you, the bullet in my gun would have kissed my lips much faster than the pills I took 2 days later. So I know we talked about the last goodbye a couple entries ago, and I had mentioned in that breakdown that I was going through a dark time currently. So take that as you will. Second section. A sorry-ass apology was all I could mutter at first, calculated words from a drunken brain and crumbling fingertips. Private message me if you want more details on the visuals, but I think the visuals, again, speak for themselves. My stupidity and hubris wanted you to move on. I expected to see you downstairs wrapped up in anxiety and doubt, and at least you would be cozy in some comfort of familiarity instead of that of a stranger's couch. But you called me on my bluff that was years in the making. My world shattered in moments I can't even remember. And honestly, that is the scary thing about drinking. Not to get too deep into that, but I might be looking into AA stuff. my own personal demons I gotta deal with. But drinking is scary. I don't remember what show I was watching, but someone was like, yeah, you could get blackout drunk and like murder your spouse and not remember and then go to jail for the rest of your life. Like, yeah, that could happen with too much alcohol consumption. So drink responsibly, kids. And the scared little boy was left to deal with the aftermath. So again, it's like this blackout moment. My memory is very like fragmented, moonbeam. And now I'm facing the truth and the consequences the next day, and I just don't feel like an adult handling the situation. I really feel more like emotionally immature about the whole thing. So the kid is obviously me. Next section. Once the truth slipped from my fingertips and into your memory, I knew I would lose you. And that just in case, the fingertips isn't me texting, not like, and that's why it's fingertips instead of my mouth. Just for clarification. I knew I would lose you. There was nothing else either of us could do. And so that's kind of like resigning myself to the fact that the situation happened and that the consequences are finite. I told you a secret that I tried to convince myself was a lie I so desperately had to orchestrate and manipulate. It's a secret for a reason, kids. But secrets don't make friends. Because as much as people tell us to love ourselves, I never could. I could only love you in the twisted way my brain could only comprehend. And so we've talked about self-love and that kind of thing here before. And at least for me, I do find it's easier to love other people than it is to love myself, just with all like the mental health issues that are going on. And you know, you can love someone so much, but at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself, kids. The venom in my words, fueled by jealousy's cackling cries. I did the one thing I swore I could never do, but inevitably would. Looking back on that line, that actually hits harder than I thought it was meant to. Because it's like when I say it was like a lie years in the making, it was like, I told myself that, you know, we're gonna make this work and you're not gonna mess this up. And I think I resigned myself to the fact that I inevitably would, albeit that like it wasn't something I intentionally did, but I kind of did set myself up for failure. So here we are. The last thing you sent to me in a message I left unread echoed for a moment before I strolled outside of the city. So we're gonna get into that dark moment that I talked about earlier, so fair warning. I felt like a criminal with my possessions, intent on killing something inhuman. Again, self-deprecating myself. I screamed internally for hours, I don't want to lose you, but I already did. And that's a reference to another Taylor Swift song, Cornelia Street, which is weird because that's like a love song, and this isn't about like a love relationship, but like I still associated that song with that, and that's also probably problematic. And repeating that fact helped the first patch of pills go down easily. When I awoke mere hours later, thwarted by improper planning and cowardice, I stumbled home alone, once again, to face my fate. And so, again, in like both situations where like the bad thing happened and then I tried to do another bad thing, it's like I still ended up alone in the dark. And so maybe that's a metaphor for, you know, trusting people and, you know, letting people help you and like getting the help you need instead of being alone. We'll just go with that. Since that moment, I have remained numb, the shell of a human I claim to have already been. For years, I thought I was a sociopath because I repressed my emotions. And then when I embraced my emotions, I was like, why can't I be a sociopath? But yes, numbness, that's always a fun feeling, especially in the winter. I haven't processed that I've lost you forever, which is why we're hearing about it now. Kind of a fourth wall break here. And your family that I chose as my family will now be broken, empty picture frames collecting dust and cobwebs. I don't want to talk about that one either. Because I didn't just lose you, I lost my humanity, I lost my true ability to love. I lost myself, but not in the way I was prepared to. That line is way more specific to this piece than another piece that I wrote that I'm not going to talk about on this channel, but when people say you're going to lose yourself and like getting caught up in other things, you kind of think of the way that might happen, but then it happens in a different way and you're like, oh, the outcome is still the same, but like how it happened is either more devastating or much tougher to handle. I can't bring myself to delete our pictures. This isn't some bad breakup I want to forget. I do that a lot with exes. I will just delete pictures, Facebook posts like that type of thing. It's like, yeah, get rid of it, but I'm not going to in this case. Your face will truly haunt the chambers of my hallowed memory. My one true mission in life failed. Maintaining friends and true love, and like just like love in general, like not true love, like romantic love, not like that, but just being able to love other people. I have become the walking memorial museum of broken friendships and shattered trust. You were my atomic bomb, and here we are back to another callback to Atomic Bomb. Literally said the words, and these pieces were written obviously in separate times, but like it starts to reign true. I think I told you guys Atomic Bomb wasn't really personal to me. I did mention my mom in that piece, but just kind of explaining how everyone's going through their different shit, and like every one person has that one atomic bomb that kind of changes them. And so here we are. So I'm gonna say the last line again because it goes into the last line. You were my atomic bomb only because I didn't want you to follow me home. And so that echoes back to the very first section, obviously, when I said I was walking home alone in the dark, disoriented, that type of thing. And all this stuff unfolded because I left alone. And I said some things in a state of mind that I didn't want to say. And I didn't want you to follow me home. And that's why I'm here today. It's kind of like taking all these extremes and like all these consequences, and you can narrow it down to one very simple moment, and it was that. And that's fun. But yeah, that's the piece, Follow Me Home. Very, very personal piece, and I haven't really talked about this with anyone yet, but again, I find these videos very helpful for me. It's kind of like a therapy session for me. And so once I look back and edit this, hopefully maybe I'll feel better. Maybe I'll have some more courage to talk about it. But that is it for Follow Me Home. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be having a couple more pieces coming out in the next week, so please stay tuned, and thanks for coming to the Hideaway.